Moo.
Hey guys, Swifthorn here. In this video I'm going to show you how to set up a target rotation and cooldown interface using WeakAuras for the Protection Paladin in World of Warcraft 8.0.1. Just to note that this will take into account that you've already watched my intro to WeakAuras video, which I'll link down in the comments. So first of all, let's take a look at what talents I'm using. So I'm using Blessed Hammer, First Avenger, Fist of Justice, Blessing the Spell Warding, Hand of the Protector, Consecrated Ground, and Last Defender. And this is just my basic dungeoneering setup that I'm going to be using when BFA hits. So let's go in and let's take a closer look and get this started. Now to bring up the WeakAuras interface, you do \WA, and as you can see here, I don't have anything currently loaded on my Protection Paladin. So let's go to New, Icon. We're going to name this Avenger Shield. And we want this to follow what my keystroke is for Avenger Shield, in this case C. Most of the stuff here I'm not going to have to change, nothing up here. Let's change the size to 20. And we'll have this showing up on the bottom. So it's bottom and centered right here. Scroll down, we're not going to do anything with the zoom or alpha. We'll leave the width and height as it is at 64. But we are going to set the X offset to -70 to bring it to my left side. And then we're going to drop it down by 280 to bring it down to the lower left. Next, we're going to go to the trigger. We're going to go to Status, Action Usable, and type in Avenger Shield. And this is because I want to always be casting Avenger Shield when it's off of cooldown. So that's all set up as far as the trigger is concerned. Let's go to Load. And we want this only to load in combat when we want it under the player class Paladin, and only when the talent specialization of Protection is selected. So this should all work just fine. So let's go ahead and we're going to duplicate this now. And we're going to do the next item in my rotation. So when Avenger Shield is not available, I want to be casting Judgment. And I spelled that wrong, but that's okay. So now I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to type out Judgment. And now that'll change the icon for this one. We'll worry about the keystrokes a little bit later. We want to get this all working first. So, Judgment is right there, but we don't want Judgment to show when Avenger Shield is active. So we are going to hit the plus sign, go to Status, Action Usable, and type out Avenger Shield. And then down here, we'll click Inverse. Now, it'll only show up when Judgment is available and Avenger Shield is not. So again, we'll duplicate, this time making sure that we do Judgment instead of the Avenger Shield duplication. And next we want Consecration. Like that for the trigger. So it doesn't cast during Avenger Shield, but we don't want it to cast when Judgment is available either. Click on that, click Inverse, we'll duplicate this again, and we'll go to Blessed Hammer next, since I have that talent selected. Alright, we'll add one more, Status, Action Usable, Consecration. Now I know with some of the changes in 8.0.1 that Consecration is on a much lower cooldown time, and that you don't necessarily have to cast it every single time, but it makes it a little bit easier for the setup just to know that if Consecration is available, you should be casting that, and then casting Blessed Hammer after that. So now this should all be ready to go at this point. So let's go ahead and now change all of our text in the display tab up here. Avenger Shield is already set to C. Consecration for me is set to R, so we'll change that in the text. Judgment is F for me. And then I have Blessed Hammer on E. And of course this will change to whatever you have your keystroke set to. Alright, so to test this out, let's close this down and let's actually get into combat with this training dummy. So run up, take a couple smacks, you can see that Avenger Shield is there. I cast that. Judgment. So there's something going on right there, and that's okay, we can fix that pretty easily. So let's jump out of combat really quick, type in WA, and let's just take a look at what's going on. So Consecration should be here, and that's okay. Avenger Shield is here. Judgment is here, so that should be okay, but let's check out what's going on here. Ah, there's the culprit right there, because I didn't press inverse before. It was actually showing up when Consecration was available. And that's basically how you go through and troubleshoot all of this stuff. So now we can run back, go hit that target dummy a little bit, and now everything is working properly. So let's go and let's work on our other icons. So the next thing we're going to do is our damage reduction ability. So let's start off with, again, copying Avenger Shield so we don't have to re-input all the things like the load section and some of the trigger stuff. And we just duplicate. We'll call this Shield of the Righteous. Like that. And then right away, we're going to switch this over and change the X offset to 0, so it's centered on my screen. So if I were to display everything, you can see this is starting to line up really nicely. So Shield of the Righteous, go to Trigger, type in Shield of the Righteous, and that'll change the icon over there. Go back to Display, change it to Shift E, which is what I have mine set to. And the one thing I like to do is, because you can cast Shield of the Righteous multiple times in a row, but I want to save it as a damage reduction ability. So I only want it available when I don't have the buff. So I go to adding another trigger, go to type, enter aura, and I'm going to add in the aura name Shield of the Righteous. So that adds that buff in right there. It's a player, it's a buff, and I only want it to show up when it's missing. So now what it's going to do is that anytime that Shield of the Righteous can be cast and I don't currently have the buff for it, that button's just going to pop up right there. So we have that set up. Let's duplicate that and let's work on our major cooldowns. So let's start with Ardent Defender. Change it here. So the icon changes, and we're going to slide that over to 70. So that's right there now. And then we can change the text as well. I have this set to the number 4. And then that's all good. Now, remember, if you are going to be copying things, to double check the trigger to make sure that you don't have any leftovers from the previous icons that you were building. So we'll get rid of the aura that I built for Shield of the Righteous. So this is just going to pop up whenever Ardent Defender is available. Now for Guardian of the Ancient Kings, that's a much longer cooldown. And normally I use that when Ardent Defender isn't available. So what I want to do for that is I'm going to duplicate Ardent Defender, Guardian of the Ancient Kings. I'll just abbreviate it a bit. Go over to here. The Ancient Kings. Oops, spelled that wrong. Guardian of Ancient Kings. There we go, pops up there. And for this, I only want that up when, so status action usable, whenever Ardent Defender is not available. So you just click the inverse. So that's going to make it so Ardent Defender is popped up on here whenever that's available. If it's unavailable at the moment, Guardian of Ancient Kings is going to pop up on here instead. And then we also need to change the text over. I have Guardian of Ancient Kings on Shift 4. So the major bar right here is all set up now. So if I were to go in and start attacking the dummy again, it'll work just fine for all of this. But next thing I want to do is I want to set up some of my other cooldowns that I have. So let's start off with duplicating Shield of the Righteous again. And we're going to have this set up for Avenging Wrath. And for me, Avenging Wrath is on Shift R. And the one thing we're going to do with this guy is that we're going to change the height to 33. And then for the Y offset, I'm going to move it up just a bit. Right about there, let's add a little bit more space. Let's just go to 230. There we go. That's just about perfect right there. Then we go to our trigger. We'll delete the other one that was on there. And we'll go Avenging Wrath. There we go. So now anytime Avenging Wrath is available, that'll pop up over there. Let's actually go and just give that a little bit more space. Let's go 225. There. All right. So we're going to duplicate this again because I want something for Hand of the Protector. We'll actually move this one below there. So 335 is good. We'll go to Trigger. Hand of the Protector. There we go. Go back to display and I have mine set to Q. So that'll switch that there. Now for this I can also duplicate it again because I want something for my Hammer of Justice. And we want to switch that to go right below the single target rotation, so we go -70. The text for me, I always have that set to 3. Let's just make everything visible so we can see where things are going at the moment. And then for the trigger, it's just Hammer of Justice. There we go. And last one I want on the setup is going to be Blessing of Spell Warding. We'll change that to the spell name. There we go. And then we're going to move this to 70. Just like that. And that'll put it right under our Guardian of the Ancient Kings and Ardent Defender. So this becomes kind of like our damage reduction spot for all the cooldowns that we want to track here. So finally, let's take a look and make sure that everything is working properly. So we'll get into combat here. Shield of the Righteous is working. I can use my Hammer of Justice, Hand of the Protector. You can see that Shield of the Righteous is only popping up when I don't have the buff. And we can even zoom out a little bit. and you can see what it all looks like on my screen. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more like this, hit the link and subscribe at the bottom. And as always, stay Swifty.